Hello everyone, welcome back to our day 3 of Linux Beginner to Pro series, and today we will learn file manipulation. Let's start our virtual machine. As soon as you see the login screen, select the username and enter its password. On the CentOS desktop, type terminal, press enter, and your terminal will be opened. Terminal is the prompt where you can enter your commands and see the outputs. This terminal is not so easy to use, so I will teach you how to take remote session of your computer. Click on machine, go to settings, click on the network. Here by default on your system it should be NAT, which you have to change to bridge adapter, and in the name you have to choose the Wi-Fi device or wireless device. I'm selecting this wireless device since my laptop is connected with internet through Wi-Fi. We have to choose this to bridge with the internet connection. Click on OK and go to the system, run systemctl restart network manager. It may ask you to enter your user ID password because you have logged in as a standard user and you are performing an administrative task. Now check the IP address of your system by entering the command IP space A. Here in the second Ethernet port, you can see my IP address is 172.20.10.2. Now I'll be installing one remote connection tool, that is Putty, and since it is installed already in my system, I'll open it up. If you want to install the same tool, you just have to go to Google and search for Putty download for Windows. Download the software and install it on your system. When you open this, you get the prompt to enter your IP. Enter 172.20.10.2. This is my system's IP address. For your system it can be different, but mostly it will be in the 192 or 172 series. Click on open and you get the login prompt. Enter the username, same username which you created initially, and give the password. If you want to perform the task as root, type sudo space -i and press enter. You'll have to enter the current user's password. Now if you see, I'm logged in as root, and let's talk about the files and directories now. What is a file? A file is a OS component that contains some data or some information. It can be compared with a white paper which is having some text written on it, and directory is kind of a container or a box where you can keep multiple files and subdirectories. CD is the command to switch among the multiple directory paths. So if you type cd slash and type pwd, that stands for present working directory, it says we are in slash. Now let us understand file system hierarchy in Linux. Not very similar to Windows, because in Windows you can see the C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive. You create the multiple drives based on the requirement and to segregate your data. Here in Linux, everything comes under one umbrella, that is slash, which is called as root file system. Under root, if you run ls stands for list, which will be listing all the files and directories under a present working directory, or if you give the path, it will be listing that path's files and folders. So if you just run ls, it will be listing out all the components, all the files and directories of the present working directory. that is slash for now. Now these directories are not simple directories. They are useful, they have some significance, they have some meaning, and it is very much important to run your operating system. For example, bin and sbin, these two directories are having the binary files. Binary files are basically the scripts of the commands. In the bin we have binary files of normal users, standard users, and in sbin we have all those commands which can be executed by root. Next is boot. In the boot we have all the bootable files, for example EFI, initramfs, or systemd, or kernel files. All these files are there inside the slash boot. Slash dev has all the device information, be it your CD-ROM, your disk, your partitions, volume group, PCI slots, all these device drivers or information or the controllers are there in the slash dev. Next is etc. etc has all the default software, all or the softwares which are supplied by Red Hat. Those softwares configuration file stays inside the slash etc. Slash home is the folder where every user's home directory stays. So whenever you log in to a user and you have to land in a particular directory, right? What should be your present working directory as soon as you log in? So for every user, it is its home directory. For all the standard users, it is slash home slash username, and except root, because root is having direct path in the slash, that is slash root. So root's home directory is slash root. Rest all the standard users have their home directory in slash home. Next is lib and lib64. This is the 32-bit and 64-bit softwares library. Media and MNT, these two are the empty mount points which can be used for mounting your CD drive or pen drive or external hard disk or anything. If you are connecting to the system, you can mount those things on these two empty mount points. Media is the automatic mount point while MNT is the manual mount point. Now let's talk about OPT. OPT has third-party software's configuration files. It's kind of a step brother of etc, where in etc we have default software's configuration file. In OPT we have third-party software's configuration file. In proc we have the hardware information. Root, as I told you, slash root, this is the home directory of root user. Run, SRV and sys are having the system information, service information and runtime data. And temp folder is having all the temporary files. So whatever files you keep inside the slash tmp, it will be deleted after a certain time. By default it is 30 days. USR is the data folder for the third party application. So if you install a third party application and if there is a data that has to be saved, it will go to the slash USR. And var stands for variables. However, var is having multiple files, and mostly we prefer this for log reading. All the logs are stored under the slash var slash log. So these are the significance of all these folders, and they are very important in order to run the system. Now let's talk about creating the files and directories. Touch is the command to create a file. Touch file1. Let me create a file here, and if you run ls, you can see the file1. Let me go to a different path. Before I move to a different path, let me teach you what is relative path and what is absolute path. If you want to go a longer path, for example you want to go in etc slash security, and if you have more directories like pw quality.conf.t, if you want to go this directory, here I have used the absolute path. This is starting from slash. Whatever path starts from slash, that is known as absolute path. Because if you are using relative path, for example, right now I'm in pwquality.conf and I just want to go back, cd space dot 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 represents parent directory. Cd dot dot, now I am in pwd. Here If I again want to move to pwquality.conf.d, in this case I can use this will be the absolute path, or I can simply give cd pwquality.conf.d and it will still take me to the same path. Because I was half the way, I just gave the remaining path and it has taken me to that full path, right? That means you don't need to give the absolute path always. If you are half of the way, do not go back and give the full path, but just use the relative path. Remember that it will not start with slash. See here, do not give cd slash pwquality.conf.d. Otherwise it will not go, because it will start searching pwquality.conf.d into the slash folder, which does not exist. So you'll get the error. Hope you would have understood what is the relative path and absolute path. Moving on to create a file, let me go back to cd slash root. I'm going to slash root to create some files and folders and to show you. ls, we have a file already here. Let me create a file, touch file 1 and do ls. Now you can see file 1 here. mkdir is the command to create a new directory. You see dir1 has been created. It's a new directory and file1 is a new file. So this is how we create file and directory. Touch is the command which is normally used to create an empty file. However, you can create the file with multiple other commands, like even if you use cp or mv for copying and moving, and if you don't have that file existing already, it will create the new file. Or if you are using vi editor or you are using cat, if the file does not exist, it will create the file. So we'll be seeing that later. For now, understand that touch is used to create the empty files. Now let's understand how do we read the file. So since we have file 1, the first command which we know to read a file is cat. However, this is the empty file. We don't have anything here. We will have to copy a file from somewhere else so that I can show you how do we read the bigger files. For smaller files, you can use cat. Cat can also be used to input the data. If you use cat single greater than file1 and press enter, you can write some data here. My name is Khan and I am from India. Something like this. And last line has to be empty, and then press Ctrl C. This will be saved under file1. See, I can read that line. So cat can be used to read the file if it is just used as the command, and if you are using cat greater than file1, then it will be used to input some data. And if you use the cat greater than, once again the data which is already written on this file will be overwritten. Now I am writing my name is Aryan, I am Indian. Press enter. Last line always has to be empty. Control C. Now if you see cat file1, now the previous line has been overwritten. If you want to append the line, use double greater than. Now I belong to the core of India. Enter. Control C. Now if you do cat file1, see the line which I typed later has been added. Appending means writing from the next line. So when we used cat double greater than, it has added this line from the next line. Okay. Now if you want to read the bigger files, we'll come to that. Before that, let us learn about copying and moving the file. If I want to create a backup, or I want to create a duplicate file in some other location, we can use cp. If you use cp file1 underscore bkp, This will create a new backup file for the file 1, and which will be having the same data as the file 1. Okay, so the duplicate file has been created. This case is very much useful in order to edit some file. For example, if you are editing a configuration file, you must take a backup before you edit something, so that if there is any issue you can roll back. CP can also copy the file to different location. For that you will have to give the destination. For example, I want to copy it to /tmp. Now if you do ls/tmp, this file has been copied to /tmp directory. Okay, also if I change something on the file 1, let's say I am going to edit the file 1. As I have used single greater than, you must understand that it will overwrite. I live in Bangalore. Actually, I did not want to overwrite, but I wanted to append, but by mistake I used single greater than and it has overwritten the data. Okay. Now on cat file 1, I have only this line, but I want that line back which was there previously. So what I will do, I will restore from the file 1 underscore bkp to file 1. It is asking me whether you want to overwrite, say yes, and then cat file 1. See, the data is back now. So this is how you can use CP for creating a duplicate file or the backup file and to restore if in case you want to go back to its previous version. Also, if you want to copy the whole directory, you will have to use -r option with the directory. -r stands for recursive, which will be taking all the files and directories inside that directory to the destination. So you should use cp-r. You cannot use only cp with a directory which is having some files and directories already. Now let's talk about mv. Mv command is used to rename and move. Moving and renaming are basically same. If you see, just visualize this. Now if you want to rename a file, basically what is happening, you have a file which will be moved to a different file with the new name, and the same content will be there. So actually it is getting moved, but you are thinking that it is getting renamed. For example, file 1 underscore bkp, I want to move it to file 1 underscore old. Now this file 1 underscore bkp will be removed and this one will take place. Now if you see, file 1 underscore old is there, but file 1 underscore bkp is not there. That means it has renamed. So we feel like it has renamed, but actually it is moving the data from here to here with a new name. Okay, similarly you can move the file uh, 1. For example, you want to send it to /mnt. Now this file is no more here, it has moved to /mnt. Hope you have understood cp and mv also. For directory movement, you don't need to use -r here. MV takes everything all together. In the CP only, you need to give -r if you are copying a directory. In case of movement, you just use MV, whether it is a file or directory, it will move it. Now, let me take a file which is there in the etc called login.devs. This is a very big file that I'll bring to present working directory. Single dot source present working directory. So cp is the command, source is etc login.devs, which I am pasting into the present working directory. Now there is a duplicate file login.devs which has copied under /root. Now I'll be teaching you how to read this. If you use cat, see, few of the components of the file are hidden. You have to scroll and see. And if you are using terminal, that also will not be possible. In putty it is possible to scroll up and down. In the Linux terminal it is not possible to do the up and down with the mouse. Okay, so we have multiple commands to read the bigger files. First of all, we'll talk about more login.deps. More has some features like, first of all, it will print page by page, and you can press space bar to move to the next page. And if you want to go up and down, you can again press up and down arrow key, but it will go always page by page. All the scrolling is done page by page. And once you reach to the last line, the file gets closed automatically. Then we have another command for the same purpose, that is less. There is a slight difference between more and less. Now let's read this file with less. See, the page has been printed and you can see the next page by pressing space bar. But if you press arrow key up and down, it is scrolling line by line. You can see on my screen, it is scrolling up and down line by line, and with space bar it is going page by page. So this is the facility in less, that you can scroll line by line here using up and down arrow key. And when you reach to the last, it says end, but it does not close automatically. So this is the basic difference between less and more. You will have to press Q in order to come out of it. Okay, then there are other tools also for reading the bigger files. For example, head. If you don't give any parameter and just use head to read the file, it will be printing top 10 line. But if you specify the number of lines, let's say -15, it will be printing top 15 lines. And the similar command tail, by the name itself you would have understood that it will be printing the bottom 10 lines. And if you specify the number here again, it will be printing the bottom 20 line in this case. These are the commands to read big files on your system, and you can read from the top to bottom slowly, or even if you have the feasibility to search in the less and more, you have the feasibility to search for the particular word. Just use slash and then type the word which you want to search and press enter. It will highlight all the words which matches that string. Remember that it is case sensitive, so you have to enter with the same case as you want to search. Press Q to come out, or Control C. Okay, so this is all about creating and reading the file, copying and moving. Now let's talk about deleting the file. To delete a file, you simply have to use rm and the file name. It will ask you the confirmation whether you want to delete it or not. If you want, you can say yes, and the file will be deleted. Now if you don't want that it should ask you, just use rm-f. F stands for force. The component with hyphen is called as option. Options are used for two purposes. One is uh, for changing the nature of the output or changing the control of the command, and another use is take some value. I will show that in the user management how do you take values using the options. For now, understand that -f or -l or -d, these kind of options will be changing the nature of the output or the purpose of the command. rm-f, and let me delete the login.deps file here which we copied. Now it did not ask me whether I want to delete it or not. It has deleted it forcefully. To delete an empty directory, you have to use command rmdir. There was a space. See, now the folder has been deleted. But if a directory is not empty, let's say I am creating a directory 2, and inside the directory 2, I am going to create a file called file 2. Now this directory is not empty. Now if you use rmdir and dir2, it will say directory not empty. Now you have to use rm-r and directory 2. You can also use f so that it doesn't ask you, but remember that rm-rf is the most destructive command of Linux. Be very careful where you are applying it, otherwise it will delete the important files and you will have to face troubles. Maybe your server may go down or you may lose and very important data. So you have to be very careful before you execute rm-rf command. Press enter. It has been deleted. The directory is empty now. This is all for this class, and we'll be learning about editing the files in the next class. If you have any questions, queries, suggestions or feedback, do share into the comment box, and please like, share and subscribe the channel so that our reach increases and more people gets benefit of this class. Thank you.